So Minecraft 1.19 is just around the corner. It's coming out June 7th, which is just about in a week. Anyway, so I figured I would update my building world, which I just created. As you can tell, I created a little bit of a tent area and a little bit of a mineshaft idea, just some ideas that I've been messing around with. Anyway, so I updated it to the pre-releases, and so now we have all our 1.19 we got all our stuff, like the skulk stuff. We got the warden. Here's the warden. We got the best mob vote mob. Anyway, there is a couple of building blocks in this update I found out. Nothing like 1.17, which added like the whole deep slate family, amethyst and stuff. But we do got frog lights, which these are light blocks, which I think look pretty interesting. I think this one and this one look probably, all of them look very good in like an ocean setting. And I think they would work well, except for maybe the ochre one in an end setting. Anyway, so I was just messing around, and I built this thing. I got a little carried away with the background, and I realized that skulk sensors kind of look like kelp when they're waterlogged, and they don't make noise. So I used endstone and frog light as like a lamp. We can use this to see what it looks like. It's pretty bright, and so I mixed both the end and water concepts together, and it looks pretty nice. And then I realized we have a new wood type. The mangrove wood family is being added to the game. Of all of it, it looks like this. Ooh, chestboat. Not gonna lie, trapdoor is a little sus though. And when you search planks in the inventory, because I was trying to get a feel of what mangrove wood would look good with in like a gradient was the word I'm looking for. You get this nice gradient of the planks colors, and when laid out, they kind of look like this, which is not the nicest of gradients. I myself took it upon me to kind of range the colors like this. I did mix up jungle. Jungle seems to be after birch for Mojang, but I think it's definitely an in-between step for birch and oak. And you get your spruce and dark oak, and then you have your weird color palette, which is not even the same gradient as this colors. You have your acacia, mangrove, and crimson. Both are very weird colors, and then you have warped being one of the best woods all by itself. This got me thinking, what other blocks go with all of these wood types? And so I kind of filled it out right here. We see there's two lines of wood types, and I'll go through them in just a second. And the reason there's two separate lines is because the planks and the log, the bark kind of texture, and the log this is the same color as the inside of this, and so that's why I didn't make a third one, which was just the stripped version of this. But I would say acacia goes very well with stone colors, or acacia is very close color to stone colors, which doesn't necessarily mean it goes well with it. It's just a very good blending color. And then I personally think it goes extremely well with its own planks, and this isn't true for most of them, and oxidized copper. This is some of the few blocks I think actually go well with oxidized copper, including this one. I thought honeycomb and regular copper. Acacia just does it all, especially, let me tell you this. Like acacia right here may look, the resemblance is pretty vague, even right next to the red sandstone. But when you use an acacia door, this looks like a copper door. Oak, I found very interesting because oak I thought was a really good building block, but I cannot think of any other colors that look like oak in the entire building inventory, besides kind of dripstone. We also have this notable example of brown mushroom block and mud bricks looking really similar. Then we have spruce, the best wood type in the entire game. It goes really well with mud brick, which I found a excellent example with. You can build a lantern that still slopes more gradually than this. I mean, I personally think that this looks better than the mud brick, but if you want like a chonky base lantern, or I guess if you made one taller, so a much more grand lantern, yeah, this looks a lot more natural then. Then of course spruce looks very good with deep slate, especially deep slate bricks. As birch, I think this is very ugly block, but I guess you can use it in some cases, like with polished diorite and mushroom stem calcite. Jungle is, it feels like the biggest, like I know people really don't like jungle, but I don't think people realize how good it works with so many colors. Like this is like the best copper combination. Like I think this copper combination with jungle and exposed cut copper works better than warped and wax oxidized copper. Like it's so much closer tone. Then of course mossy cobblestone kind of just adds to the ruiny kind of vibe that I get whenever I see jungle. And then Jungle bark, I think, is hands down the most ugliest bark in the game besides birch. Like, I could not think of a single use for this. Like, it's so different than any other block, and yet so just bad looking. We got dark oak, which this may look kind of like a pillager outpost, because pillagers apparently know how to build. Birch, dark oak, they just go well together. It also goes for cut sandstone, I guess. Yeah, cut sandstone goes pretty well with dark oak. And then this is where we get into the update stuff. I mean, I guess I did mud over there, but mangrove is really weird. It's red, and so the first thing I thought of when I thought of mangrove was a barn, and you kind of have like a barn. I don't really know how to describe it, just a barn. For some reason, I just think of a barn, and barn I think of whites and reds like this, so I mean, I guess you could kind of make a barn out of this. Otherwise, I think mangrove works very well with different bricks, like this bricks and mangrove. I mean, now that I look at it, it kind of looks weird, but it's kind of the mix between the red and the white that you see in the barn. Actually, wait, why don't you just build a barn out of bricks? I also kind of think it looks good with blackstone, but I mean, a lot of things look good with blackstone, except for deep slate. Then we have the mangrove bark itself. This one is only slightly better than jungle, I would say. Like, jungle is like has some weird colors in there. This is like jungle without the weird colors. It's like a lot more smooth. You can kind of feel it. It looks surprisingly good with tough. Like, just it's appeasing to the eyes. Just soak it in. Just soak it in. And then I came across, which I didn't really think would happen, is crimson is the weirdest. Like, you would think mangrove and crimson are close to each other since they're red. This is, I don't even know what this color is anymore. Like, this is definitely red, like kind of apple red, and this is just weird. It's so, like, such an alien color. I can only think it looks good with blackstone. It's just because I've seen it in so many nether builds, and I think I'm just used to seeing it, and it looked that good. I also was playing around with the bark for the crimson. I could not think of anything besides it looks good in the crimson forest, and so I just used the crimson forest blocks and made this kind of weird red skulk patch, like with it being the main skulk block, the nylium being like the veins, and like this being some weird skulk center, like that's upside down. It looks pretty cool. It would be interesting, like, build with skulk and this kind of red skulk. I don't know how you would do it, but it could be pretty weird. And then finally, I was playing with warped. I think warped is the best wood type in the game, tied, like, at least tied with spruce to me. But this, again, the hyphane, the bark version of warped, looks very weird, and I guess it kind of goes with dark prismarine and skulk, but it's a very loose connection. I think skulk is very much not a building block. It's about as much as a building block as soul sand. You got kind of a weird texture. It slows you down, and it's just weird. But warped planks, though, this is an entirely different story. We got the warped warp block, which surprisingly, warped just regular nether warp block does not go with crimson, whereas regular warped nether actually does go with warped. Did I say that right? But it's a bit strange. And I think warped and quartz are like a match made in the aether. Like, this is just absolutely amazing. And again, it does work very well with oxidized copper and the nylium, but I mean, how would you use nylium with it? But anyway, thank you guys for watching this short little silly video. If you enjoyed, please hit the like button and the subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.